our third to last workshop with Eylon from DHAck on digital cooperatives and hackathons.
Yes.
Can I ask you, Eylon, to rename your yourself from fellow spacer to your real name with the three little dots, or just hovering your name?
Yes. Yeah, now it works. Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, perfect. And if you need to share your screen, you want, the floor is yours.
Yeah, sure. So let's start with sharing my screen. Wait, this is annoying. How are you guys so far? How was the rest of the workshops?
It was really, really good.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed the digital DAO canvas. You're right. It's very, very. It's actually much better than the actual physical thing because you could get so much more done faster.
Yeah, I think Miraboard is just amazing. They've actually created a tool that's just very good.
Yeah, and it's also like these type of tools that are getting so much better. You know, you use it once and you're like, oh, that's not very good. And then someone like 6 months to a year later is like, oh, you should use that. And you're like, why? It's not good. And you actually discover they've done a great job. So
yeah.
Very happy to use it again.
And yeah, these tools are definitely gonna keep getting better and get more participants and contributors once, as people are just staying at home working. So yeah.
Anyway, great to see you again, Eylon. What do you have for us?
Yeah, good to see you too. So I kind of want to brainstorm actually something that I've been thinking about and trying to construct, and it's called the Builder Collective. And essentially, it's a collaboratively owned innovation lab and hackathon platform. So, you know how everybody's talking about DAOs, right? And I have a very difficult time explaining to anyone what the hell a DAO is. Like outside the space, you go to someone and you say decentralized autonomous, and they're like, what? Like we're completely...
Yeah, you lost them halfway.
Yeah, so I've decided to rebrand DAOs into digital cooperatives, and this is I guess the first idea that I'm gonna try and push and see if it will make sense. And yeah, I would love your feedback. So I guess the first question is who's here? Yeah, so I see Griff, Matteo, Leon. Okay, are most of the people here hacking? I'm wondering.
So there are definitely also people watching the live stream at the same time. So there might be some, silent viewers as well.
Okay.
And
yeah, okay. So just
don't be shy, like present yourself.
Yeah.
So, I'm Jason. I'm from Bitcoin Malaysia, and right now I have a community of 56,000 people, which I'm actually sharing the link right now so that they can join us on ETHTurin as well.
Nice. So yeah, I guess generally I want to ask like questions to like the participants of this hackathon. And I don't know, maybe we can brainstorm together, like the people here, like what's the biggest challenge that you guys see compared to a physical hackathon?
I can like quick reply to that. I think that the biggest challenge for sure was on the organizational side to create momentum and just to keep the pieces together, because first of all, from the sponsoring side, of course, virtual hackathon is less appetizable than a physical one. And then is also to recreate that sort of environment and Stimmung of Deutsch, where you can actually feel that you're part of something.
Yes.
So I think that we're kind of, it's not like a physical one, but it's a good percentage. It's a good cut out of a physical one. We're having good projects merging together and good integrations happening right now.
That's awesome, and I liked what you said. Like feeling, what was it? Feeling together.
Yes,
Or-
I second that. I've been participating in some hackathons, both physical and virtual, and I think that even among my friends, we kind of like agree that virtual hackathons, the thing that's lacking is that like when you're discussing, there's always this interference. We're not there yet. Like in like even right now, okay, we have 9 people in the group. Probably
Yeah.
when one person is speaking, okay, probably there might be 2 or 3 people who want to kind of like voice out, but the rules are just different. When you are the rules of engagement, it's just we have to adjust to this new normal, I suppose, but we are not there yet. So
Yeah.
that's why physical hackathons, okay, people much appreciate, is more fluid. Okay, you have an idea, let's work on it. You can feel the room as well. Right now, I can't feel whether the other 9 people in the audience, okay, are either agreeing, disagreeing. You have no feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Okay.
it's to add to it. It's very much like we're all trying. I mean, I think it's every event, hackathon or not, like we're trying to reproduce physical feel online is struggling, right? And it
Yeah.
goes. It's because it's not seamless, right? And you can't reproduce everything just literally online, right? Like it's like we can have a virtual drink, but it is not the same as a virtual drink. So what is the equivalent of a thing but online? And it might not be the same thing, but it has to be translated. And Felipe had a good comment before that we're all still learning, and we're all like someone moved something like, and we're like, whoa, we're stepping on each other's toes. And it's the same with Jason said, like when you like try to speak and everybody speaks at the same time and you're like, no, oh, there's a delay, oh wait, my connection.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for all these answers. I think, first of all, these are all valuable. Let's continue, and I'll show you kind of like where I was going with this.
Thank you for not telling us that our answers were crap.
No, these are good. These are good answers, and I'm going to listen to this again, and I'm going to refine what I'm doing according to your answers, because the goal is to actually, take the physical hackathons, and if we can make virtual hackathons work just as good as physical hackathons, then really there's just so much you can do. And kind of like the direction that I was going with this is like the lack of participation or engagement. I mean, it's obviously very clear. If I go to a physical hackathon, I'm there. I'm going to be hacking. I'm going to be involved. I'm going to be a part of something. If I'm in a virtual hackathon and I'm hacking at home, then most likely that I'm going to have so many distractions that the participation is just going to be much lower. So my question is, or what I'm trying to find out is, how can we get participants or hackathon members or anyone in the hackathon? How can we get them more involved? I don't know. Any ideas?
Turn on your cameras.
Very, very simple question, not an easy one to answer.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the workshops and the webinars and doing all these things to keep people engaged and having material to come to, or even sort of like, I don't know, hacker calls and brainstorming calls for ideas.
Yeah, so something that can it's still like half implemented, but it's on its way, is what we are trying to do with the Aura. So every participant to the hackathon basically register and gets an NFT ticket through Mintbase that because of an integration that we allowed for our event, allowed the participants to vote at the final stage for the main track of the hackathon. So the same system could actually work for conference rooms, where basically you can access and vote in in a sort of way pimp your NFT by giving these a proof of attendance like an intensity because you attended a particular call, because you intervene within a particular call, because other maybe rated positively your intervention, etc. So it's all about like creating pimping up like your virtual your avatar online.
Yeah.
Yeah, and using that
Virtual
avatar.
presence.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a great idea, actually. With actually creating an avatar. I think this is something we tried to do at ETH Denver. It didn't really work out fully.
You know, something that we're one of the reasons why we wanted to have this continuous stream of content and live content is also to create like a synchronous event, right? So it's like if you're on your, even if you have like, you always have like bounties or things you can hack on Gitcoin or like other platforms, but like you can go there and like you're by yourself, like it's literally you reading things. And if you can be at the same time, the problem is to be at the same time all together in one place and see the other people and work on something together. I think this is like the synchronous part of the virtual events is very, it's even more important than, I mean, than physical
Yeah.
events, because yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's continue. So kind of what I've been thinking about is cooperatives. Anyone here is a member of a co-op?
No.
I
So
mean,
when I
what
was
type of cooperative do you mean? I mean, I go get my veggies at the cooperative next door, but
yeah, but are you like a member of it?
Mhm.
Just wondering. Oh, you are. So I mean that's, I guess that counts. When I was in Denver, there's a big outdoor sporting shop. It's called Ray, and they're a co-op. And yeah, I think that's when everything kind of like dawned to me. It was, we're a co-op, and then he explained to me what a co-op is, and I'm like, he's explaining it now. This is interesting. And that's when I had the dime drop basically. But it was cheaper for me to join the co-op and then get whatever I was buying, because it would have been cheaper. It was like, I don't know, $20 for the co-op membership, and then I got like $30 discount.
Right.
So yeah, now I'm part of a co-op, and theoretically I think I'm entitled to, I don't know, maybe like $1 a year or something. But yeah. So yeah, anyone want to say something?
Yeah, so what it is that I agree with what you say. When you look at DAOs, one of the things that how I explain DAOs in Southeast Asia is that I basically say it is exactly like a cooperative or like a company, except that there isn't a board of directors, there's no CEO. All the decisions that are made, okay, in a DAO are done either by smart contracts, which is computer code, or by community voting.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so a cooperative, basically, like the in the traditional sense, it was mostly farms. I kind of, I dive deep into this. But to summarize, like what this is, it's an organization that is run jointly by its members, and it's geared towards the members, their profits or their benefits, and up until, I guess, what I'm trying to do now, it was mostly community. It was mostly physically located somewhere, and so we were all farmers in Denver, and we would pull some of our money in, and then we would, I don't know, share a tractor and these type of things. So and now I'm like, the transition that I want to make is to virtual cooperatives or online cooperatives where basically anyone can join, anyone can contribute, and that specific cooperative has a goal in mind, and they're trying to do something. So how could you build an online cooperative? I mean, what you would need is that, is the more you contribute, the more shares you get. And I think we're trying to do this with, several DAOs and stuff like that. Anyone has any ideas to how, I don't know, how do you even quantify someone contributing online when they can have 1,000 identities?
Can you rephrase?
Well, I like how FastDAO does it.
Sorry?
I like how FastDAO does it. I like how FastDAO does it. So FastDAO is think of it like a decentralized events agency. So people would organize, virtual meetups or meetups, for the FastDAO, right? And when the DAO doesn't have funds, especially at the beginning when the DAO doesn't have funds, people can actually write in proposals to organize events and get paid in their native token instead. So it's like, and then when they accumulate the native token, the native token, the Fast token, it basically augments their hourly rate, when they work in the Fast DAO. You get what I mean? So if let's say, for example, if I organize an event, that is like takes 5 hours of my time, and the base rate is like 20 DAI, which is like $20, then I get about like $100, but the DAO doesn't have money yet. So I can get paid in in the native token first, and then in some point in the time in the future, I can either redeem it or I hold it so that my base hourly rate becomes, instead of like $20 an hour, it becomes like $25 an hour or something like that. So I found FastDAO quite interesting in that sense.
Yeah. So with FastDAO, like if you contributed, if you like hosted a conference, they had a list of like, if you hosted a conference, if you spoke in a conference, if you helped organize it, if you were any of these kind of contributors to the event, you would have gotten essentially shares, voting shares in the DAO or the cooperative.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
So my kind of like where I'm trying to go with this is a cooperative for hackathons. Now, can this make sense? And what we would do in a hackathon that runs, a cooperative that runs hackathons is we would align the incentives of all of those who use the platform. So we have hackers, we have sponsors, and we have community members, and we probably have a couple of more subgroups. But the goal is to find a way to align all of them towards a platform that, if successful, they all kind of earn. And so how will such cooperative work? So the cooperative runs virtual hackathons. You have participants, contributors, and sponsors that decide on the winners together. Now, you can say, how do you decide who's contributing, how much they're contributing, and all of that? I'll touch on that later, but there are many ways to do that. If you have an organization that does, I don't know, weekly calls, if you attend the weekly call, then you would get a small amount of shares. If you take on yourself a role of like organizing something, then you would get shares, and then everybody together can decide who gets and how much. A portion of these hackathon funds, they remain in the co-op. So if a sponsor comes and pays $5,000, then 10% of that will stay in the DAO. And later, after you have a couple of these hackathons, you start generating a pool of funds inside your co-op, and then the community members together can decide what they want to do with it. Does that make sense? Yeah.
To me,
I think it's Is it sustainable?
Go.
Don't know. Don't know. That's the honest truth.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to share with you is so last year we tried to organize. It's not so much of a hackathon than a conference, and we said, oh, this is great. Let's do it, in a decentralized way, and And it really just meant that like nobody was taking ownership of anything, right? And at the first we were like 30 plus people working on it, and then poof, suddenly you're by yourself, or like you're two people, and you end up doing all the work.
Yeah.
Aww.
And no, I mean it's fine, but it's and you know, and we were using like, there were like ways to like record your time and things like that, but nobody would do it because then it would take you more time to actually enter what you were doing than like doing it. So so it kind of all like fell through. And yeah, so I'm this is kind of something that is you know, on the reward and like aligning. I think this is where you really have to pay attention on like the reward, right? Like and how it works to align people, because otherwise that just all work for nothing.
I think it comes down to metrics somehow, metrics of interaction, how to measure them, how to make sure that the members get payoff for being engaged. So it's all about like establishing those metrics and making sure they are independent.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Well,
good. I
and
think,
also it's a little bit also on like you know, it's like, for example, for these events, like, or like this event was like a crypto art festival and nobody was paid to do it. So it's like, what do I care if I get like, you know, like reward tokens or something? So, and there was really nothing that like, I mean, we did not have the tools, but we also like, there's really nothing you could define that like, you know, oh sure, we'll give you 10% of like if you bring a sponsor or something. But going back to very trivial things, it's like, it's hard.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's all very nice ideas. The community is cooperative and everything, but
Yeah.
and maybe it's because I'm in the US that it's like even harder. But it's like, it's really hard to get people to care and actually do shit, you know.
Yeah.
So
So I think what you described, I think it's kind of like too many cooks in the kitchen. You know, if you have 30, 40 people who are all doing something, that everybody's counting on the other guy to do it. And you would need to, like, the way I see it is that you need kind of like a smaller group out of that. I'm thinking, you know, the first circle is maybe 5 or 10 people max. The second circle of the people who are kind of like, these are the people who give orders, let's call it. Then you have the second circle of people who like, okay, you tell me what to do and I'll do it. These are kind of like the second circle. And then the third is people who, you know, barely participate or just are there sometimes, and you really can't count on them.
But that's actually, that's hard to define like organically, you know. If you don't, maybe that's like where the tool is useful, because that's kind of putting you in a bucket. But you don't want to be like, nobody's gonna tell you I'm in the bucket. That doesn't do anything if you don't tell me what to do. Everybody wants to be the person who, like, you know, is gonna give orders, or you know. So it's and maybe that's where like these you know, predefined models like help. I don't know. I mean, it's a good question.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, anyone will tell you that you want to be the top contributor, but you know, the question is whether they actually do it.
Yeah. Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah. Yeah. So, kind of like why this is good for. Oh wait, I'm missing a slide here. Maybe I'll pull it.
Can you verbalize the missing slide?
Sorry?
Can you verbalize the missing slide?
Yeah. So I mean, let's get to this, and I'll come back to it. So kind of the reason for why you would do this, let's say from a hacker's perspective. Imagine you have this cooperative. Let's say it runs. Let's say it doesn't. You know, it doesn't run. Let's just say it runs, and then in a sense, any company could come and they could sponsor any hackathon. We'll touch on this in the next slide, but you know, there are big advantages for the sponsors here because they're going directly to the hackers. It's literally directly funding them. There's no middleman. There is no, and everything is transparent. This is for them. And then imagine you have, you know, maybe 10 of these small size competitions. They don't have to be development work. They could also be like design or UX or many different things. And you as a hacker, you have the freedom to choose, right? You can join this on the weekends if that's what you want, or on a daily basis. You can choose between like a variety of topics and languages and competitions from various different companies. You have an element of both of fund distribution and ownership. So actually, kind of like the slide on the ownership is what I'm missing, but in general, like the more you participate in the hackathon, that means we're running, and this is later, but we're running source cred, which source code on a Discord server and on GitHub, which essentially quantifies individual contribution. And then from that, we can say, okay, every week, these are the people who contributed. Okay, we can add that as what I call shares in the cooperative. And in a way, the more hackathons you have going, the more money gets accumulated inside the cooperative. And at the end of the day, you are the one who has the ownership to decide what to do with this money. And now this money can be distributed to all of the co-op members. Maybe elect different people to actually serve as specific roles. Maybe you want someone who will be your community manager, and you want to pay him. You want to pay him $500, or you want to pay him $1,000 a month from the cooperative. There are administrative decisions, and or we could decide together to further develop the platform. Maybe we want a certain feature. Maybe we want to run our own kind of like meta mini hackathon. So yeah, from the other side of the company, first of all, innovation is very like I'm imagining this is a cooperative that runs for a couple of months and it's super successful. But imagine in big companies, it's very difficult to innovate. I don't know who's worked in a corporate, but to innovate or to let me try and do something, it's very, very difficult. And so here you have the opportunity to actually deploy funds to kind of a group of hackers. They own the platform, so they're more incentivized to actually help and perform and do something good. And yeah, you're kind of, because it's a hackathon, I think one of the most magical things in a hackathon is that you have a bunch of people gathering in, and they're really building just the craziest product they can think of. Sometimes they might be focused on one sponsor or the other. And so here, like I'm imagining, so a company like Wix, they just they released a new, essentially like a website builder, but they want developers to build on their platform. What if they ran a hackathon to actually incentivize builders to just come up with the craziest stuff in order to build on their platform? So this is the value proposition for a sponsor from this point of view could be like the innovation, outsource your innovation. And the last thing is kind of like the wisdom of the crowds, because you are letting everyone also decide who the winners of the hackathon are. So you're not just you yourself, if I'm Wix or if I'm anyone else, I'm going to decide who the winners are. Wait, let me see if I have it. No, I don't have it. Yeah. So kind of like under the hood with it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Sorry. How would so see like and maybe it's a false question, but it's kind of how would the cooperative support kind of the collaboration between hackathons? Because I mean, to organize ETHTurin, we partnered with Gitcoin, who organized hackathons, with East Global, with East Lagos when it was happening, and so on and so forth. So and this is kind of where the strength was, because we were all trying to make the best events for the community. And then even more when it all went virtual, where like everybody was like, what the fuck are we now doing? We used to be like physical event production companies. How do we, like do something else? Yeah.
So what is the question you mean?
So how like would like a cooperative, like, I'm just trying to see how, because that's a big element, I think, as well. So I'm wondering how you see that fit in the model.
You mean like cooperating with other other hackathons? I mean,
yeah, or if there would be different cooperatives, or like cooperating together, or you know, kind of other stakeholders in one cooperative.
Yeah. So ideally, you know, because this is like a virtual organization, it can grow infinitely. Like you're not really limited by anything. And you know, let's say if 1 month, I don't know, Gitcoin runs a hackathon in this, like using this platform, then you know the guys from, I don't know, from ETHTurin, for example, you know, okay, we're not gonna do much. We're still a part of the community, but you know, it's someone else kind of leading the charge here. I mean, ideally, you want to have something kind of like as big as possible, because you know if you have the network effects of, you know, several organizations like ETH Global and Gitcoin joining, and many other organizations, then you can just really, you have just bigger network effects. And if we talked about, I think, yeah, the lower participation rates. Now I'm a hacker, and if this platform is successful, you know, it's making money for me as well. We can say all the money that we've accumulated, we can give it out as not really a dividend, because that will get me in legal trouble, but in distribute some of the revenue among everyone who's participating. Yeah, so that's kind of yeah, I think that's the lead thing, that you want to pull all these different stakeholders together, the hackathon organizers, the hackers, the sponsors, into one place. And then if the incentives of all of them are aligned, then you know they would want to grow this together. I think what might be the most difficult part in this would be to actually figure out how much shares each person will get. Like if I'm putting money, if I'm a sponsor, how much shares am I getting? If I'm a hacker and I hacked and I won, how much shares am I getting? If I joined every community call, I helped people, I don't know, brainstorm ideas, I connected people who I thought were similar things, like how much shares do I get? And this is, this is kind of like the tricky part, but I believe, like, I mean, we want to start with something and then iterate on it. And I can tell you that this is something I borrowed from SourceCred. Dandelion calls himself temporary benevolent dictator, and I think this is great. And this is actually what I'm planning to do here as well, where, you know, for the time being, it's all running decentralized. I have a key technically, but I can prove that I've destroyed that key essentially. So when that moment comes, you know, I hope hope it will go smoothly. Yeah, so under the hood, we're using a DAO-Stack DAO, and we're using SourceCred and OneUp, which is also a new kind of development in this sense. So DAO-Stack is a I think most of the people here know, but it's essentially a technological platform for DAOs, or a stack for DAOs. I'm not supposed to use this, but kind of like a WordPress for DAOs. You set up the basic thing, and then you can add different plugins, different schemes, and create, I guess, different decision makings. And of course, it's open source and transparent. SourceCred uses this is actually something very amazing in my opinion, but they're using like a modified PageRank algorithm to measure individual contribution across various platforms. We're using it for Discord right now, and hopefully in the future to GitHub as well. And right now, the way it's done is I get a list every week saying, okay, these 200 people, you know, this guy got 50, this guy got 10, this guy got 200, and I'm manually, first of all, running it through a quadratic formula, and then updating that into the cooperative and giving them shares. Yeah, this is kind of what it looks like to for a hackathon. This is from ETH Denver. And as you can see here, you have like, I'm clicking on Insure link, and this is what they did. You had 1,000, 1.88K rep or voting shares that have voted for this in ETHTurin. Yeah, so our upcoming kind of hackathon, and it doesn't have the dates, but starts end of May, the 27th of May. So kind of like our goal here is to create, so it's called SOS Hackathon, which is Share Our Strength. This is like the first event. The goal is to find find and brainstorm different ideas to solve some of the problems that will come after COVID-19. Not necessarily right now, but what will happen later. For example, one idea that I'm pushing is sort of turning all of the bankrupt restaurants to cooperatives. Because I live in Tel Aviv, and 80% of the restaurants here are going to go bankrupt. So why not raise money for your community and have your community have a stake in your restaurant? So this is actually what I'm going to be hacking, let's say.
I think it's happening. Sorry if I interrupt you. What's his name? I forgot. From Ethereum Magicians. Jesus. Canadian guy, Boris Mann. Mann mentioned me that I think in Canada there are some restaurants who open these crowd equities to restaurants and bakeries, etc., who basically took a percentage of their capital and turned it into equities and just opened it to the local community to buy. So
yeah,
it's definitely a model. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is one thing that I'm looking into, just because the coffee shop, my favorite coffee shop, like down next to my house, they just did like a sort of like a Kickstarter campaign. I think that if you would actually give your customers or those who invested in your restaurant some, I don't know, decision making in what would be the new menu or what do they think about something that happened, I think that will, I don't know, increase the engagement and increase the essentially alignment between people. So the goal of the SOS Hackathon is to create a forum of unique thinkers and builders to brainstorm and ideate what the world needs post COVID-19, to prototype and implement these elements, and for the co-op to decide the winners of the hackathon. Yeah, that's mostly it. Maybe I'll pull up the website, which is not complete yet.
So did you iterate, because you started with DHAck, right? Like that was like a way to like fund like after hackathons, like for prices. Like, did you iterate on this, or is it like really separate?
It's an iteration of this. Yeah, wait. Do you guys see my screen?
Questions? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so you can't see because I switched something. But yeah, so this is essentially an iteration, trying to make this work better. I think with the world changing, and wait 1 sec, I'll share. Why doesn't it? Okay, here we go. Yeah, so I've been, this is a website I've been working on for the past couple of days, to kind of like explain like how this works. Yeah, so Fanny, to your question, it is sort of an iteration. The goal is to figure out how to make something repetitive, really. If you joined one hackathon, how do we create another hackathon and have the organization, DAO, cooperative, continue participating, continue running the hackathons. So yeah, here, kind of like going like a little bit deeper, you can join the cooperative by attending or sponsoring, being a community leader, anything really. You gain shares and ownership in the cooperative for your work. You hack and you vote for winners. Either you don't have to hack, but you can participate and help and vote for resolutions. And then as you do actions, you gain influence. You can decide on the future of your organization, and you can split revenue with others. A little bit more about the SOS Hackathon, we actually have Vitalik and Ben Gorchel speaking about exactly what we would need from the future of the hackathon. Yeah, the usual kind of raising funds and join the hackathon. This is kind of the timeline. And yeah, there's a bunch of stuff on like how you can get shares from participating, attending webinars, mentoring, and even marketing. The question to like kind of like why would you build a cooperative is that hackathons have transferred to the virtual space, and it's very challenging in virtual hackathons. And as we can see, there are way less participation and engagement compared to physical ones. So if we align the incentives of everyone who's on the platform, maybe we can get something that will improve the experience, help us build a more equitable and scalable model. And yeah, there's a bunch more stuff I can send this website. It's not done yet. Yeah.
And it's mostly on Ethereum, right? Like it's all Ethereum based, or you're opening it to other?
Oh, so actually this is a super important question. I don't know how like explicit I should be about this, but I'll just say a story. When I was in Denver, I got drunk. This is like after the last day, and I went to Eric, who also works from DHAck, and I was real drunk, and I told him, Eric, Ethereum is just a bunch of guys jerking off each other, And this is what it is. It's a small community. Everybody comes, you use mine, I use yours, blah blah blah. The goal for this, I don't know if you noticed, but it doesn't mention anything about like crypto. The goal is that oh, I lost the screen. The goal is for this not to be crypto related at all. Anyone will be able to join. They don't need an Ethereum account. You can use like Taurus right now to generate a multi-party computation. And the goal here is for people who are unfamiliar with crypto to, participate.
Man, you should start with that. That should be your intro line. That should be your intro line.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm getting great feedback.
I mean, this is the first thing you were not here at the beginning of Felipe's workshop, but I told him like the only thing I have against DAOs is that like like people who don't understand tokens and wallets and things like can't participate. So you're limiting your cooperative and your community to a tiny number of people, and if you want to use DAOs to like finance and like fund things differently, it's why would you do it yourself?
Yeah. So the only problem right now, and I modeled the entire thing. The only problem right now, with let's say someone who has no idea what crypto is how they off ramp. How do they get their money that they got, even if it's DAI, back into fiat? Because usually that requires KYC and all these. You don't want to get in trouble with that type of stuff. So that's kind of, I guess it's also the last step, right? Okay, you want something, and now we're going to help you cash it out, but we finished the entire thing. So yeah, I guess maybe I'll just ask you, do you guys think this model could work? Do you think it's sustainable? Any feedback, any things you think that, I don't know, we can improve on it?
I mean, for me, it's all a question of like trial and errors, right? Like, I mean, this is how we approached ETHTurin. It's really like how you build the blocks that you need and see what works and see what doesn't. And I mean, we've been very lucky to have the help of Interspace for the virtual conferencing system and live stream, because they've done that right away. But also they've learned at every event. So it's like every event is a way to test a new proof of concept. And really, ETHTurin was also to like, how do you bring also hackathons to more local communities and not just global hackathons, like where you can just, have people from, hack on anything, like bringing like more focused subjects and more focused communities like to to meet. And so yeah, I mean, I think this is hopefully you can get also feedback from the whole event if you like. Hope you stick around, because that's where even the voting part, like literally Diora Earth, like Diora Earth, like created the entire like quadratic voting system from scratch, and by collaborating with Meanbase, was like providing our NFT tickets. So it's like, like it's just Matteo was saying even before the hackathon started, it's like, great, we already have like a few projects, like a few hacks that like works really well, and Diora is now documenting that like very thoroughly, and it's how it works. So yeah, I hope you get some good feedback, and I'm sure people have other comments. I'll shut up now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely a good starting point for this is what like it's been troubling everyone, I guess, to kind of have an MVP that people who are not tech literate, or even just they couldn't bother less about it, can have something which they can still trust. First of all, that it's that allows them to to manage decision making and funds, and it comes well. The whole thing, there are so many spots where you have to crash, literally talking about like legal frameworks, like how can you claim the actions of a DAO in a tribunal? Like there are small bits and pieces that represent tasks within legal frameworks, within fund and banking system, to make sure that somehow everything is covered, etc. But these things have to be tackled, and for each one of them you have to tackle individual pools of communities, like legal hackers for the legal frameworks, etc. And but it's something that has to be done because so-called liquid citizenship is happening slowly but surely. Brexit showed it, like your nation, this decision or political direction doesn't represent its people anymore.
We're heading towards digital countries.
Yeah, totally. Digital countries. I mean, the big molochs are trying to become the countries. Like Facebook is trying to become a country. As tried with Facebook with I forgot the name of it. What was its blockchain project again?
Libra.
Oh yeah, Libra.
Libra.
Out of my mind.
But Libra is now nothing more than a PayPal, though. So
yeah, exactly. So it's just as they try to do, it's good to like present alternatives.
Yeah. So kind of like my question here, my questions would be: do you think this model makes sense? Would you, as a hacker, would you want to join a platform that maybe you have a little bit more stake in? If that platform is successful, you make money regardless if you won or lost in a hackathon. And whether something like this could grow to be continuous, where this would be the ideal place for anyone to kind of like run their own hackathon. They can, ETHTurin next year could come and they can, okay, we're going to use this platform to run the hackathon. There are many other people in there. We're gonna run. We're gonna put the money. We're gonna put the workshops, etc.
Of course, totally. I mean, it's something that there's value produced out of these systems. There's actually well-paid value usually producing these systems, and if I can contribute with my non-technical knowledge or more technical knowledge for as much as I can, then and if that is represented by a stake, of course. I mean, we should have done it for ETHTurin, I guess. This is to just keep track of, even amongst all the not just the core teams, but also those who claim to be media partners, and eventually they had to be pinged to do, hey, can you please fucking share our news sometimes.
Yeah.
And you know, there are like hierarchies of collaboration, like core members of a event, hackathon, etc. Then there are media partners, then but of course this is something that it's fundamental to be tracked. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's great. No, absolutely. If
So
you,
I'm gonna say something, but I'm not sure if I'm saying something totally absurd or if I'm just, I don't know.
Say it. Say it. Say it.
Say it.
But to me now we're really reaching a point where it's like a cooperative and a more advanced version of a SaaS product, because you know, it's like in a SaaS product, I mean, you literally, there's two actors, you pay like to have access to a platform, the person who made the platform, and in this, like, you have like way more people actually being able, I don't know, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud. It might not make sense.
In one of my brainstorms, I call this sort of like a SaaS for innovation, where, you know, I'm a company, I can come and I need $5,000. This is the problem I want to solve. Then you get, you know, a variety of people just coming and hacking on your platform. It's all sort of autonomous. But yeah, I guess maybe in the future it could be called a SaaS.
Can somebody explain to me what is SaaS, as in SaaS? Software as a service?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, exactly. So it's sort of like a hackathon community as a service, because you're not just using the product, you're also using.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
No, very very nice. I like how also, like, you know, it's agile. Like, you had DHAck and now you're iterating on it. So it's the right way to do it. So yeah, hopefully we can join. Like, tell us, so when is SOS hackathon, and maybe you can let us know how we can.
Yeah. So after ETHTurin will be done, I'll if you don't mind, I'll publish it there. And yeah, just ask for feedback from people there as well.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
It's happening at the end of May. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Can you, like, maybe from this group, right, tell us off your head what kind of help do you need, so that, you know, we can, like, prep for it?
Yeah. So we have our second community call tomorrow. I can send the invite to the Discord here. We haven't, like, there's already a bunch of people interested, but we haven't really what do you call it? We haven't started the entire mechanism of giving shares and everything. That starts on May 1st. The first kind of like share distribution will happen on May 7th. But let me share. Is there a chat here?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it the Discord chat? There's of this, yeah?
Discord chat, yeah.
Oh, the Discord chat, yeah. So I'll share it here. And yeah, I mean, welcome to join like the second kind of community call. The first one was just explaining. The second one will also be mostly explaining.
Explaining again.
Yeah, explaining again. Just answering questions, and like I think I have a lot in my head. But the more people ask me questions, like the more this entire thing gets refined and makes sense. Where should I post it in the Discord?
So you can either open the chat through this room, or which is the Interspace.chat, and or directly in the ETHTurin Discord. That's you can put it in general. It's fine, because we've asked people to share their slides in general. I'll make a repository of them, but it's for now it's where people are.
Yeah.
And
I'll share their website as well.
How many people? Can I ask how many people? Okay, helped you in ETH Denver? And how many people were involved in DHAck?
It's just me, really. I mean, Yeah, there's obviously some people in DAOstack that are working basically on developing the platform, and then I'm kind of working with them if I need something. But I mean, that's not really happening. Nothing is happening specifically for DHAck. This is all kind of happening for DAOstack, and I'm kind of using things that are that can be used for everything. Yeah, so in ETHDenver, the DAO itself was me, and then we had a group of people like David, Austin Griffith, and Paulina, and we were kind of like doing the entire event of, sponsors can give people voting power, etc. Yeah, but ETHDenver was kind of crazy. I say that every time like we talk, it was kind of like a hackathon of a month to get there, and then everybody else participated in the hackathon because what we built there was just kind of insane.
So what do you hope, okay, the next one, okay, what do you hope to see for the next one? Okay, if what do you hope to see differently in the next one?
So the goal here, the main goal really, is to get people to participate and then get them to also participate in the next kind of hackathon, to create something that is ongoing, where this is a platform anyone can sponsor. And I guess the first problem is to bring these sponsors who want to put some funds, and then make it really continuous. Create a core group of people who want to drive this forward. And this is kind of the goal.
Okay, all right, okay. Thanks.